A billionaire CEO came home early, and what he saw changed everything. And if you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. The rain hammered against the sleek glass windows of Daniel Carter's penthouse as his car pulled quietly into the underground garage. He was supposed to be on a red-eye to Singapore, buried in negotiations worth billions. But the deal had stalled, and for once, the billionaire CEO decided to come home early, craving nothing more than silence. The door unlocked with its usual soft chime, but the sound that greeted him wasn't silence. It was humming. A soft, wavering tune floated from his kitchen. His brows furrowed. No one should have been there. His staff left hours earlier, and he lived alone. He stepped forward carefully, each footfall echoing on the polished marble floor. When he reached the kitchen doorway, Daniel froze. There, standing barefoot on the tiles, was Rosa, the night janitor. She wasn't cleaning. She was holding a little boy, wrapped in a faded blanket, feeding him soup from one of Daniel's crystal bowls. Her eyes widened with fear when she noticed him, her lips trembling, as though she had been caught committing a crime. "Mr. Carter, I'm sorry," she stammered. "Please don't call the police." "I didn't mean to." Daniel's sharp businessman instinct surged. His voice came out cold. "What are you doing in my home? And who is that child?" The boy, no older than 6, clung tighter to her, his tiny face pale with illness. Rosa's hands shook as she set the bowl down. "He's my son, Matteo. He's sick. And I didn't know where else to go. We lost our apartment last week. The shelters were full. I've been hiding him here while I work at night, just so he has a roof over his head." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to be angry, wanted to remind her of boundaries, of trust, of professionalism. But instead, his gaze fell on the boy, thin, fragile. His small shoulders shivered under the threadbare blanket. For a moment, Daniel was no longer the billionaire CEO. He was the boy who once slept on a mattress in a foster home, clutching a borrowed teddy bear, wondering if anyone in the world cared. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, softer this time. Rosa's eyes welled with tears. "Because men like you don't understand. Because I thought I'd be fired. I just wanted him safe for one night." Daniel's throat burned. He could see the exhaustion in her face, the desperation of a mother fighting battles no one else noticed. And then, without fully understanding why, he stepped closer, crouched down, and met Matteo's eyes. "Hi, buddy," he said gently. "I'm Danielle." Matteo blinked, then whispered, "Are you going to take us away?" The question shattered Daniel. He shook his head. "No, kiddo. I'm not taking you away. I'm going to help." That night, instead of sending them out, Daniel made a decision that would alter his life. He called his private doctor to check on Matteo. He had food delivered, warm clothes, medicine, even toys. Rosa tried to protest, ashamed, but Daniel silenced her with a firm kindness she hadn't expected. Days later, Daniel arranged an apartment for them, safe, close to Matteo's school. He ensured Rosa's job was secure, with a raise she desperately needed. At first, she couldn't believe his generosity, but Daniel knew what it was like to be overlooked, to be dismissed as unworthy of compassion. Weeks passed, and Matteo recovered. One evening, as Daniel visited their new home, the boy ran into his arms without hesitation. "Thank you, Mr. Daniel," he whispered, "for giving my mom a chance." In that moment, the man who once measured his worth in profits and acquisitions realized something profound. True wealth wasn't in the skyscrapers he owned or the deals he closed. It was in the lives he touched, in the simple humanity of caring when no one else would. Daniel Carter, billionaire CEO, had come home early expecting solitude. Instead, he found a hidden struggle, a mother's love and a boy's trust. And in choosing compassion over anger, he discovered a richer kind of success, the kind that could never be counted in dollars. Because sometimes the greatest fortune lies not in what we keep, but in what we give away. The weeks rolled into months, and what began as an unexpected intrusion into Daniel's penthouse slowly became a quiet bond he never imagined forming. Rosa was still cautious around him, always polite, always grateful, but Daniel noticed how her shoulders slowly relaxed over time. She no longer looked at him with fear, but with respect, and something deeper, a silent understanding that he wasn't just her employer anymore. Matteo, on the other hand, had no hesitation. The little boy filled the spaces of Daniel's life that had long been empty. He'd sit in Daniel's office chair, spinning in circles until he was dizzy. He'd tug on Daniel's sleeve, asking endless questions about the city skyline or the strange gadgets scattered across his home. And every time he laughed, it struck something raw inside Daniel, a joy he hadn't felt since childhood. One evening, Daniel found himself sitting on the floor of Rosa's modest new apartment, building Lego towers with Matteo while Rosa prepared dinner in the kitchen. It was such a simple scene, so far from boardrooms and billion-dollar contracts. Yet for the first time in years, Daniel felt human. Later, as he walked Rosa to the door after dinner, she paused, her voice trembling. "I don't know why you did all this for us, Mr. Carter. Most people in your world would have thrown us out. You've given us more than I could ever repay." Daniel shook his head. "Rosa, you don't owe me anything. The truth is, you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. I grew up with nothing. I know what it's like to feel invisible. Helping you and Matteo, it's not charity. It's healing in a way. For me too." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she saw not the billionaire CEO, but the boy he once was, the one who had longed for kindness himself. As winter melted into spring, Daniel's priorities began to shift. He spent less time chasing overseas deals and more time investing in community programs, shelters, childcare centers, education funds. It wasn't a PR move. It wasn't for headlines. It was because Rosa's story had shown him how many people slipped through the cracks unnoticed. At the grand opening of a new shelter he funded, Rosa and Matteo stood by his side. Cameras flashed, journalists scribbled, but Daniel didn't care about the spotlight. His gaze was fixed on the little boy tugging at his hand, smiling proudly as though Daniel belonged to him. And in that moment, Daniel realized he finally did belong, not to boardrooms or shareholders, but to something far greater, to family, to compassion, to the kind of legacy that lasts long after the skyscrapers crumble. Because sometimes life's greatest turning points don't happen in the spotlight. They happen quietly, in kitchens and living rooms, when a man decides to open his heart instead of closing a door. And Daniel Carter, who once measured life in wealth, had discovered that the true riches of this world were not hidden in banks or business deals. They were hidden in people.